What's it with Dior bags and political scandals? First, it triggered the downfall of South Korea President Yoon Suk-yeol. Now it's led to the ouster of Mongolia's Prime Minister Oyun Erden Lobsangam. The Korean scandal involved the then First Lady Kim Keon-hee. She accepted a Dior bag as a gift, and it sparked a controversy that eventually cost Yoon his presidency. Here's what happened. In 2022, First Lady Kim Keon-hee allegedly received a $2,200 handbag called Lady Dior pouch from a Korean-American pastor Cho Jae-young during a meeting at her personal office. This exchange was captured on a hidden camera concealed in the pastor's wristwatch. The footage was later released by Voice of Seoul, a YouTube channel, in November 2023. The video's emergence over a year after the incident escalated into a political firestorm. The Dior bag scandal raised ethical concerns under South Korea's anti-graft laws, which limit gifts to public officials and their spouses to $750. The controversy contributed to President Yoon's declining approval ratings. Polls showed public demand for apologies and explanations. Prosecutors cleared the First Lady of criminal charges in August 2024. But by then, the scandal had morphed into a demand for President Yoon's impeachment. Cut to 2025, a new Dior bag scandal leads to the ouster of Mongolia's Prime Minister. Oyun Erden Lobsangam resigned on 3rd June after protests over his son's lavish lifestyle. Social media photographs of his son's extravagant lifestyle, including a black Dior shoulder bag, went viral, sparking protests and an anti-corruption investigation. It led to a confidence vote in Parliament on 3rd June, which he lost, resulting in his resignation. The scandal highlighted concerns about corruption in Mongolia. Protests lasting many weeks and involving mainly young people demanded accountability, ultimately forcing Oyun Erden out of office. The trigger was social media posts showcasing his 23-year-old son Temulin and his fiancée Yugumur's lavish lifestyle, including a black Dior shoulder bag. The photographs, which have since been deleted from her Instagram account, showed the couple flaunting designer items, including the Dior bag, during an engagement holiday. Some other photographs showed them enjoying luxury travel, such as helicopter rides and a high-end Mercedes-Benz. These images, which went viral, raised public outrage in a country where many struggle with poverty and economic inequality. The country's anti-corruption body had begun investigating the family's finances, questioning how they could afford such luxury given Oyun Erden's background as a civil servant earning a modest salary. The public reaction was swift and significant, with protests erupting for 2 weeks before the confidence vote, involving hundreds, many of whom were young. Protesters, including members of the group called Resigning is Easy, expressed frustration. The symbolism of the Dior bag was seen as tone deaf, igniting demands for transparency and accountability. Oyun Erden, who had been in office since January 2021 and was known for his reformist agenda, denied any wrongdoing. He called the scandal a smear campaign. But the confidence vote on 3rd June saw only 44 lawmakers voting in his favor out of 88 participants, far short of the 64 needed out of 126 total seats, leading to his resignation. The Dior bag scandal significantly eroded Oyun Erden's political standing, contributing to his ouster. It not only damaged his personal approval, but also weakened the ruling Mongolian People's Party's position, with analysts noting the protests as a critical moment for democratic accountability. This scandal reflects broader societal debates in Mongolia about elite privilege and corruption. Oyun Erdene, once hailed as a modernizer, faced criticism for his family's ostentatious displays, contrasting with his campaign narrative of humble rural origins. As an ex-user said, a social media post of a black-shouldered Dior bag ultimately brought down the Prime Minister. The allegations against Oyun Erdene's family hit a nerve. There was deep public frustration over endemic corruption at a time when the cost of living has skyrocketed. Some people are paying nearly half of their monthly income in taxes while barely making enough to cover food, rent or utilities. Some others are not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. They're actually living loan to loan, debt to debt. Now, sandwiched between regional giants China and Russia, Mongolia was a communist state during the Cold War, but has transformed into a democracy since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Mongolia became a parliamentary democracy in the early 1990s, but has struggled with political instability and corruption ever since. In 2024, U.S. prosecutors sought to forfeit former Mongolian Prime Minister Sukhbatur Batbol's 2 New York apartments that he allegedly bought using stolen mining funds. Batbol, who served from 2012 to 2015, denied any wrongdoing. In 2022, mass protests erupted over a corruption scandal involving the alleged embezzlement of billions of dollars worth of coal destined for China. Thousands marched in freezing temperatures in Ulaanbaatar in a broad popular movement fueled by anger over corruption as well as a struggling economy. Public outrage was stoked by whistleblower claims that a so-called coal faction of lawmakers with ties to the industry had stolen billions of dollars worth of coal deposits. Mongolia has huge deposits of coal, copper, gold and phosphorite. About 90% of Mongolia's coal exports go to China. In 2021, Kurel Suk-yeol was forced to resign as Prime Minister after protests and public outrage over the treatment of a COVID-19 patient and her newborn baby. A video of the woman in an ambulance clutching her baby prompted fierce criticism, particularly as Mongolian tradition dictates new mothers should avoid the cold weather and cold food for the first month after birth. In 2018, Kurel Suk-yeol survived a parliament vote to sack him over a corruption scandal that implicated high-level politicians in a state fund embezzlement scheme. In 2017, the then Prime Minister was sacked over allegations of corruption. The 2025 Mongolia protests were symptomatic of a widening disconnect between the ruling elite and everyday people. Youths took a stand against what they described as deeply embedded corruption and social injustice. They held a sit-in for 3 straight weeks before toppling the 10-month-old coalition government. Wonder who will be the Dior bag's next victim.